Luke Anderson filling in for Dirt and Sprague. Behind the board, it looks like a very, very intense Will Ortner this morning. Will, what's going on, bud?
Not much. I'm not intense. This is just intense. My face.
That's just your face?
Well, I'm a little sleepy. Face? I've got a little, I don't know, RBF is the way that I'm going to phrase it.
Do you?
Yeah.
I've not noticed that. I mean, you're a big mountain of a man, I suppose. So maybe there's some intimidation factor. You searching for those buttons, I was like, man, should I even introduce him, or should I let him do what he's doing?
I got it. I know what I'm doing over here. We're all right.
All right.
Half of my job gets made easy because it's bowl week.
Bowl week.
Exciting.
It's very exciting. There's a lot of bowl games. Do you know how many bowl games there are this year?
46.
Oh, I thought it was 41. That's too many. But maybe I'm not counting the playoff games. But I don't. Either way, there's 40 plus bowl games. How many have you watched?
Well, I produced the pilot, so I usually watch a couple during the pilot games. That doesn't count.
You had it on while you were here. Because I've done that. I've had a couple games on. I think I've had more FCS playoff games on while I'm doing shows in here. Oh. I've not even turned on the TV yet this morning because nothing obviously live is on, so who cares?
I didn't either.
But yeah, no, I've watched more FCS playoff games. You give me a choice between, one of the Dakotas playing against another directional state school. Let's go. I watched Villanova against South Dakota State. Come on. Let's go Jackrabbits.
North Dakota State versus Montana was electric. I think that was a double OT game.
Yeah.
And it finished because North Dakota State couldn't get the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I was making the comment, and you played FCS football, yeah?
I played D2.
Oh,
I played against FCS teams.
Okay, so you played a lot of these teams, but I was making the comment watching the Jackrabbits against the Wildcats, which you just say that like it sounds FCS right there anyways, so you don't even really need to name the schools. But as you go down the ranks of football, I don't know about you, but I'm way more of an NFL guy than college.
It depends. A big-time college football game, I think I prefer over an NFL game. Ooh. But if you went like pure pound for pound, like a Sunday versus Saturday, I'm probably going Sunday.
Okay, college football playoff game versus final regular season game with playoff implications. I won't even say NFL playoff game.
Ooh, so you're talking like Green Bay, Detroit last year versus...
Yeah, well, like Minnesota, Detroit this year should be that way. Mm-hmm. I mean, even this weekend, you've got Detroit playing against Los Angeles. You've got the Seahawks. The rest of the Seahawks schedule is going to be playoff implications. I mean, there's only 2 games left, but playoff implications, week 17 or 18 in the NFL versus the college football playoff.
I think it's different because this year I'm going college football playoff because
of Washington?
No, because all 4 teams I think are pretty even.
Okay.
Like in the past, you've had playoff games. I mean, Georgia versus TCU last year, where you knew, one of the teams is going to blow the other one out, and then the 2-3 matchup would be decent. Like this year, if they had put FSU in, even though I might believe that FSU deserves to be in because they won the games they were supposed to.
Yeah.
That would have been a horrible game, and I wouldn't want to watch that. Michigan would have blown them out of the water.
Sure.
You have 4 pretty even teams. I'm going to go playoffs over implications because, like, Seahawks games, they have implications.
Yep.
But this week, Steelers are probably already out. Maybe they can fight.
Well, they got to win. They got to win last weekend, right? Didn't they?
They beat Cincinnati.
Yeah, but so they're still in the thick of it in the AFC. So they're both right there, and whatever.
Close enough.
Whatever. So you're taking college football playoff. How about over a wild card game? Any wild card
game. Again,
that's fair.
I think I'm going college football playoff because you are going to have some snoozers in there. I mean,
I got you.
Someone has to make it out of the NFC South. Maybe even 2 teams. Do you really want to watch?
No, they better not have 2 teams.
Do you really want to watch?
Because Tampa Bay has to play New Orleans still.
Right.
And I think those are the 2 most likely teams to come out. Atlanta, I don't think they want.
No, Atlanta's done.
And we know that the Panthers are already eliminated. Yeah. So it's between the Saints and the Bucs, and they have to play against each other. Saints already lost their Thursday night game against the Rams.
Right. That probably eliminated the 2 NFC South teams. But still,
one of them, the second one,
You're going to have some snoozers.
You might have a couple snoozers in the
division round
in the college football playoff though too. I hate to say it.
I hope not. This year feels different.
I'm with you.
Feels different.
Well, we've also talked about this ad nauseum, at least on shows that I'm on, where there are two different types of great football games. Well, I guess there's three. There's three different types of great football games. There are ones that are accidentally great, where you get, we'll just use the most common example of this is Boise State beating Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that game was very exciting for Boise State going into that game, but most people are going like, oh, yeah, Oklahoma's going to wipe the floor with them. That game ends up being great. Every week in college football, you get one like, why is this team X hanging with team Y?
Right.
How is that possible? Those are great games, but they don't have what game B has, which is, dude, it's just all the hype in the world. And college football uses this a lot more than the NFL, because most NFL games have the potential to be very good games.
Right.
But where you have, and we were kind of talking about this early in this college football season, because I don't know if it was week 3, maybe week 4. There was no games worth getting excited about. There was no big names playing against big names. There was no everything's on the line type of games. Here's 2 college football playoff teams that can make it. So you have to have those hypes. Both college football playoff games have the hype going into them, and certainly all the teams do. So you have that. And then the game can, oftentimes be a letdown, but having 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to be like, oh my God, this game is going to be amazing. The Super Bowl is great at this because it's 2 weeks of just pure, unadulterated football in the veins type hype, right?
Right.
Is the game always great? No, of course it's not.
Seahawks Broncos.
Well, for a Seahawks fan, that game was awesome.
I loved it. But I know the Broncos didn't love it.
Yeah, of course. Well, and most of the country was like, all right, well, this is foregone conclusion. But every once in a while, you get the Patriots down 28-3 and something happens.
Right.
And there you go. And then you get the ones that are great hype and great game, and it just ends up being everything. And those are obviously the best football games. But you can't promise that. And it's just football in general. Like TCU, I know that they got absolutely annihilated last year. Mm-hmm. So did the Ducks going into the season playing against Georgia last year.
Yeah.
But those games, oftentimes when a team is outmatched by that much, it's just a matter of like, all right, can you execute early and often enough to make the team that's supposed to win pucker late in the game? Or every time you take a chance, it ends up being a pick or a pick 6 or whatever it is, and it very quickly gets lopsided. And then once it gets lopsided, you play with desperation, because college football teams, hate to tell everybody this, they're not balanced football teams.
No.
Like you watch the Ravens 49ers, but they threw 4 picks, and, for all intents and purpose, they were, playing from behind the entire time, and they're not built to play from behind, but they never got beat 53-0. Like they were never going to get just absolutely annihilated, because they're a lot more balanced football team. Man, you let it start sliding. TCU playing from pure desperation, where Georgia can just sit back and go, you throw it, we'll pick it. You try to press coverage on our guys, we're going to beat you. You try to blitz, we're going to read it. We're going to have an open back end of your defense, and we're just going to expose you again and again and again. And it gets completely out of hand. I don't think TCU is that many points worse than Georgia. That game just didn't work out in their favor.
Well, it's also the Hal Mummy theory of, if you lose by 1 or if you lose by 50, you still lost. So you might as well lose going out on your shield.
It's just a snowball effect too, though. Football just has that more than any other sport, where it's like, man, once you're down in the dumps, your options become limited. And if those options aren't good options, it gets really ugly.
Right.
We've gotten off the point that I was trying to get to. Watching FCS football, you played Division II football. Mm-hmm. The one thing that is always amazing to me and super fun about watching the lower levels of college football, or even covering high school football, which hopefully the fan will get back to, which I've always enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Man, special teams is a wild card.
Oh, there's always something happening.
Dude, you watch an NFL game, and it's like, all right, here comes a 50-yard field goal. Feels pretty automatic. Like, you're like, well, they could miss it, but they're probably not going. 35-yard field goal, automatic. They had to move the extra point back because it was too easy for those guys. Man, you watched, you played it. I mean, Division II. Did you ever feel comfortable when a field goal was going up?
We had a year at Central.
Yep.
In college, you kick a PAT from the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
We didn't have a game where we made every single one. We went an entire year, 12 games.
And we were more prolific offenses in
4 kickers. 4 kickers. We were a playoff team that year. Didn't have a game where we made every extra point. Not one.
Yeah. That's fantastic, though, isn't it?
Not for our ST coordinator. He had to go somewhere else.
But, dude, like, that's the worst job in the world, being a special teams coordinator for D2. Like, that is hi, welcome to coaching football. Here's your first job. If you can survive this, you can keep coaching football.
It's the ultimate. Like, if you can survive this, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I felt bad for him because, like, we'd switch. We went to different kicker. I think at one point we had like a wide receiver kicking.
Of course you did.
Didn't have a shot. Tried to go for 2. And we were good. We were a playoff team.
Yes.
Didn't make every single one. None of those kickers came back.
Were there games where you're like, watch out, they got a kicker that's like 50%. These guys are really good. I heard this guy kicked a 40-yarder.
Yeah, there were times like we won a game. One of the years I was there, we won a game off a 42-yarder that hit the
crossbar,
the upright. It hit the bottom.
Crossbar.
Yeah, it hit the crossbar
not the
and bounced in. Sorry,
crossbar,
it hit the crossbar and bounced in. That's how we won that.
42-yarder.
He made that. There was a second left. They ran the kickback, so the other team should have beat us, but they threw the ball forward by like.
Oh, gotcha.
It was just barely a forward pass. Like the guy jumped like a yard in front to catch it instead of like staying behind.
That's funny.
So yeah, you want to talk about special teams?
I do.
Chaos?
I love
that game in itself. There was a blocked field goal in that game.
Yes.
Crazy times.
Yeah,
times.
I was watching. So in the South Dakota Villanova game, I watched the punter kicked the ball into the back of one of his blockers, like one of the what do you call them, the protectors.
Yep.
Bounced it off the back of a protector. So the guy's like 7 yards in front, just gets drilled with a punt. Awesome. Nobody really in any vicinity to block it. This is just standard punt. Just whoops. Sorry, meant to kick that up in the air. Instead, I kicked it into your back. And then on a kickoff, the return man goes to catch it, deflects off of his hand, rolls to the back of the end zone, 1 yard from going out of bounds in the back of the end zone, picks it up, gets out of the end zone by a yard and a half, fumbles it on the 1. They at least recovered it. So they got on a kickoff field position, 1.5 yard line.
Hey,
awesome, dude! It's
like
just.
That.
But we watch. If you're an NFL fan like I am, NFL first, or like even to your point, like a major college football game gets you excited. You have to appreciate how good the special teams are, man. Watch another a rung below that, and it's like, man, these guys go for 2 every time. Yeah, they don't have a kicker.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
This D2 coach, man, he sure is aggressive. No, he's not.
No, he hates soccer players. That's the true key.
He refuses to recruit Eastern Europe.
He refuses to use one of his scholarships because he only has 26 of them on a guy who only kicks.
Amen to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week, for the rest of this week, bowl week, you've got me, Luke Anderson. You've got that guy, Will Ortner. Swag was supposed to be here. He's apparently fighting the Mele Kaliki COVID that he picked up in Hawaii. So he will be out, but he has promised us he will be available if we need anything remotely. So if we need remote assistance, we've got that. Dirt and Sprague are back after the first of the year. We're going to continue through and get you ready for Ducks versus Liberty. Is there a worse bowl draw than that?
Not in the New Year Sixes.
No, that's pretty terrible. And we'll get ready for the college football playoff. We will get ready for the weekend that will be in the NFL. We've got plenty to get to. You want to start off with kind of a little recap of the NFL weekend? Because
might as well.
I have not done that. We didn't have any live shows here. So we'll start there. We've got to get to the record-breaking Detroit Pistons. We'll get to college football. There's going to be a lot. It's going to be a fun week, so stick with us. It is a Luke and Will edition of Dirt and Sprague in the Morning on 1080 The the Fan. Neither of them here in studio, but I know them both, and they're both wonderful. So there you go. Luke Anderson, Will Ortner filling in for you. College Bowl week this week. So let's talk some NFL. First thing I need to know from you, Mr. Ortner.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about the Christmas weekend being consumed by the NFL? Enveloped. 3 days of nonstop football. Seemed like a very, very good time for a lot of football fans, not so much for their wives.
Well, as someone who doesn't have a wife, I was fine. I could do whatever I wanted. I'll be honest, I forgot that there was NBA Christmas Day basketball.
Oh, I didn't. I knew that there was, but I gave it 0 out of 10. Less than 0 out of 10.
No idea. When I opened up X on Christmas night, at like 10 o'clock to see the LeBron like flop and then grab his leg, like, oh, I've been shot, and then he was fine later. I
thought he lost a leg.
I thought it was from Christmas Eve. I was like, oh yeah, normally they play basketball today.
Yeah.
But there was football because it's Monday, and we got 3 games, and they were awesome.
Was it 3 games on Saturday, and then the rest of the slate on Sunday, and then 3 on Monday, right?
Well, and there was a Thursday in there too.
Oh yeah, Thursday night was a playoff implication. 2 7-7
that
teams
was a big
against
game.
each other. Yeah, so
yeah, it was. It honestly, the NFL, it's only a matter of time before they just dominate any holiday after Labor Day. Like, after Labor Day, if you're a holiday, they are going to be playing a game on one of those days. And everyone's going to watch it. And it could be the worst matchup ever.
Only two games on Saturday in my head now that I'm recounting. But anyways, go ahead. Yeah,
well, I'm just thinking, Sunday Night Football, the game was the Denver Broncos, who are pretty much eliminated from the playoffs. They would need a lot of help. And the New England Patriots. And I guarantee you the ratings that stupid game got dominated anything on Christmas they're wearing? Dude, it dominated. The NFL is king and nothing is close.
Yeah, the funny thing is, so we were after the Sinner and Saint on Saturday, my wife and I took the kids, went down to Vegas. My brother-in-law lives down there. And my wife, she's like, that was a lot of football. But it was always on at my brother-in-law's house, not because he is a huge NFL fan, but his girlfriend is. And so she is all in. So I say, to the chagrin of some wives, I mean my wife, because she's like, that was a lot of football. And the thing was, when we all went to play golf a couple times in Vegas, football was still on.
No, you gotta have it on your phone or in your ear.
Well, they're playing. Well, no. Not with us. Like, I kept up.
Oh, at the house.
At the house, because she stayed back with my brother-in-law's girlfriend and the kids, and they're even playing like video games and stuff because they got a video game for Christmas. And she still has it on her phone, keeping an eye on what's going on. So the NFL is not exclusive just to, you and I.
That's right.
But yeah, it definitely dominates and takes over the Christmas weekend. And with somebody with 2 7-year-olds at home, you can certainly see how it distracts from some of the festivities. But at the same time, this year I've watched more football games. And actually, I'm starting to watch more basketball games with just no sound on, just having them on in the background. It is such a good backdrop to any holiday festivities because you don't need to have it where it takes over and dominates.
Right.
Like the Patriots Broncos is a perfect example. Who cares? Like, who cares who wins this game? But you'd still look up and go, Russell Wilson get hurt yet? Are they carting him off? Are they carting him off?
Like, what's happening here? Ortner Christmas Eve. We're at my aunt and uncle's. The games are pretty much on mute for the most part so that people can talk to each other while they're eating, while we're, giving presents to the cousins, the whole 9 yards. Guess what stayed on the entire time?
Yeah, of course.
It's right there, and you can just kind of look up. You can be having a conversation, then you'll look up and be like, oh, what's the score? Oh, that referee just tripped Lamar Jackson in the end zone. How is that fair?
That was fantastic.
How is that safe?
That, you know what? In fairness, he shouldn't be so fast. He did not give the referee time to get out of the way.
Can you imagine if the Ravens would have actually lost that game? Like, if the Ravens lose that game by, let's say, 5 points.
Yeah. Well, if they lose by 2.
How ballistic do you think Baltimore fans go?
Well, but just reverse that too, where put that in the fourth quarter instead of the first quarter.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so much of football is timing and when things happen. Like, early in the game, we'll recover. It's 2 points, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have that happen later. I mean, luckily, you don't have to worry about those controversies. But yeah, it's always fun to think about exactly what that is.
Like, what could have happened.
But I mean, as a perfect example, you bring up the Broncos-Patriots game, and it'll be a great game.
Yeah, no, it did. I mean, the Seahawks-Tennessee Titans game.
Like, I'm looking up going, did they fire Belichick yet during the game? And wait, they're going to win this thing. And then,
then they're going to lose it. And now it's like, Is Bailey Zappi kind of decent? So someone has to take a look at him. Like,
I don't know. Just looking at his face, I'm like, he doesn't really have the look.
Nah,
but neither does Brock Purdy.
He doesn't have the name. You can't have a quarterback with Zappi It just doesn't work. But hey, I stayed here late. I was working a Pilots game. I was producing. They're out in Hawaii in the Hard Rock Classic, or I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, they were out in Hawaii. I know that.
I stayed an extra 30 minutes here so that I could finish watching the Seahawks Tennessee Titans game, a game that should not have been good, but was kind of greatness because the Seahawks are horrible on offense.
Well, they're just so inconsistent. Like even with Drew Lock, their defense has been inconsistent too, though. They give up just some of the more head-scratching plays. Like they'll just be like, all right, that was this is a definite 3 and out. It's 3rd and 14. It's like, oh, they give up 28 yards. And it's like,
how did that
They're
happen?
Very frustrating to watch.
Right.
And I made the claim that, with this stretch, they've already beaten Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Wasn't pretty, but they beat Tennessee.
Got it done.
They have the Steelers at home. They finish on the road against the Cardinals, who are eliminated from the playoffs. If you can't win those 3 straight games, you don't belong in the playoffs. Mm. And I don't want to watch you in the playoffs. You may still make the playoffs, but you need to go 3-0 down this stretch.
You should.
And the Steelers coming into town, I don't know what it is about Mike Tomlin. He does not have losing seasons. We were debating on Saturday whether or not he is the greatest coach or the worst coach to have. But he wins a lot of football games. And another one against Cincinnati, and the unstoppable Jake Browning train finally came to a stop. But I don't feel very comfortable about this game on Sunday.
No, if I was a Seahawks fan, I wouldn't, because it's so feast or famine. It's either you are driving to score a touchdown, and the minute you get that first down, you're golden, or you will have 4 3-and-outs in a row, because they, for whatever reason, they seem to refuse to use the middle of the field.
Yep.
And then if Kenneth Walker is in there and you're getting a push from your 2 guards and your center, he can run the ball well. And I really do think he's an electric player.
He is, yeah.
But if there is no push on that offensive line, and on first down it turns into 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8,
they're going to run it again. And then it'll be 3rd and long.
And then you got to hope that DK makes a crazy play, or Tyler Lockett catches it before he falls to the ground.
He loves falling to the ground. He's like, do not hit me. There's no player that is more allergic to contact than Tyler Lockett.
No one better, though. But he's so smart because he understands, like, if he gets hit, he will probably die. Like, he is a very small man.
He's not big.
He is an average man who just got really lucky that he can run a 4.4.
Yeah.
That's what he is. And he is smart enough to be like, you know what? It's good for my career. I'm going to get down. He's anti-Wes Welker.
Yes.
Wes Welker's like, I am going to run through people. I'm going to show everyone I'm tough.
I'm bigger than this linebacker in my heart.
Like,
and it's like,
no,
well, yeah,
not.
maybe in your heart, but guess what? You're also higher up on the concussion list than he is.
Right. You'll win the first one, but the 3rd or 4th one, you're not winning. Tyler Lockett's like, I'd like to keep this career going.
Yeah. One of the frustrating things, this last Sunday aside, but from watching the 49ers versus watching the Seahawks, is the way that they spread the ball around. Christian McCaffrey gets a lot of carries. He gets a lot of targets, but the creative ways they get the ball into Deebo Samuel's hand, into George Kittle's hand, into Brandon Ayuk's hand, in just trying to figure it out. You look at the weapons that the Seattle Seahawks have, and I'm not saying they're Christian McCaffrey. They certainly don't have a George Kittle on their tight end roster, but they've got decent tight ends. Will Dissly's always been a good receiving tight end. Noah Fant seems to make big plays on occasion, but he also disappears for a big stretch. But DK, I'd put him up there as a comparable to the athleticism that some of those wide receiver has.
Oh, yeah.
Is he as versatile? Honestly, I have no idea. You see him get a wide receiver screen and watch him just run over the defensive backs for 4 yards, even if he gets tackled at the line of scrimmage. I'm like, how do we not do that at least once a series?
Right.
Just try to get it in there to that guy with 0 yards, and then let him pick up a few. And with Shane Waldron, that was the whole idea, bringing him in from the Rams. He's the offensive game coordinator, or whatever he was. He wasn't the
passing game coordinator.
For the Rams. Thank you. And then coming over as your OC, and having him be creative with it just does not seem to exist. And if you can open up lanes for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who
he's very good as well. Yeah,
exactly. You get these guys and they have two different running styles. It feels like you can have a mix it up offense with this, and it's just like, Pete Carroll's influence is a little too strong.
I was say, I wonder how much of it is Pete of like, this is what I have done for years and it's successful. And to be fair to him, it is successful. It won him a Super Bowl. Last year, you had no business being in the playoffs. You were in. This year, I'd make the argument that you're maybe a little bit better than last year. But I'm not saying that you should be a shoe-in for the playoffs. And right now, you kind of control your own destiny.
You 100% do. Like
for me, when I look at this team, you have an electric slot wide receiver who is young in JSN. And
sure.
They don't use Smith and Jigba on more
jet sweeps,
or use him on slants. Use him on 5-yard ins, so he's running across the middle. They just seem to refuse to use the middle of the field. And if you use the middle of the field, that's going to open up more of those big play shots at DK, so he doesn't have to catch it over two guys.
And doesn't it make your linebackers freeze for half a second when you snap the ball, so that when you are running the ball off tackle up the middle, you're trying to run a counter with some of the cutbacks that Kenneth Walker has to make. Like, you go, did he just run the ball 75 yards to get 15?
Oh, half the time it's 80 to get 2.
Yes, and you go, okay, well, he has the ability to do it. Just run an inside trap, whatever it is. But if you can get those linebackers to have to look over at the direction of number 11 and go, I'm not jumping on this right away.
Right.
It just makes such a big difference.
Well, and
let DK, Tyler Lockett, we know is not going to take a bunch of hits. Let DK take all of them.
Yeah, he'll be just fine.
Just get him out there. We know he's a deep threat, but just get him the ball. And then you know what? If you get a corner that's coming up to hit him 3-4 yards from the line of scrimmage, you do that half a dozen times in a football game, you're going to flinch. When he comes to hit you. And then you do a little deke step outside, and then he has that speed where if he gets up the sideline, he's picking up 40 yards.
No, 100%. Well,
it's just, I don't know.
The big thing, too,
you and I are so much smarter at football than the Seahawks offense coordinator.
Oh, well, clearly.
I think that's the point of this.
Hey, clearly, academic all GNAC. Let's go.
That's right. I do want to look at the playoff implications going into this weekend. We did not do a very good recap of what happened this last weekend, so we will kind of pair those in. And I have a thought that pertains to the Oregon Ducks and the Seattle Seahawks, and I want to get your opinion on it. I've shared it on air already, but I don't think you know what it is, so I'd like to get your genuine response. But first, I will send it to Mr. Will Ortner with a SportsCenter update for all you fine listeners. Here it is. right after the first of the year. Everybody will be back for the recap of what will be College Bowl week. But for now, we're holding down the fort. And right now we're talking NFL. We'll get into some college football a little bit later. Will Ortner has already declared that he could not be more excited about the college football playoff.
Couldn't be.
And the matchups. So I think we'll start hour 2 there.
Pants are tight.
Very excited. What does that mean? What does that imply?
Means I need to buy bigger pants.
Yeah, let's get bigger pants.
That's the issue. Too much squats.
Do you get excited about football and then put on your old football pants? Is that what?
I don't have any old football pants. I do have some old football jerseys.
I know you were wearing one the other day.
I did wear one the other day. I was doing that for the kids.
Yeah, I know. You keep saying that, but I don't remember seeing any children around here.
Well, that's because they were at the school. I couldn't bring the kids here. That would be weird.
You could have pulled off the jersey in between.
It might have been duct taped.
Duct tape to what?
To me, my shirt.
Why?
Well, because you don't let your jersey hang low. It would have looked like a dress. That's ridiculous. So I duct taped the jersey up so it sits almost like a crop top, because like back in the 80s and 90s, like University of Miami, they have the crop tops.
I remember.
You duct tape your jersey now so it's a crop top, and then you can have your shirt underneath it hang out so that no one will see your big fat belly.
We had somebody hem our jerseys. Like, I don't know if it was one of the parents or someone who was in high school. Yeah, they would go and, do you know what that means?
Yeah, you like sew them so they're small.
Yeah, so you don't have to duct tape them. Yeah. But yeah, we had, fairness, I also played high school football in the 90s. So we had them where they had the elastic so they would stay up. So you would look cropped, as it were. So we did not have to worry about that.
No. Duct taping is a big thing. I had to because my dad was wearing the other jersey, so I had to show. Well, you do it double-sided and it stays up, and then they can't really grab your jersey as well. Yeah. Also Velcro, so you'll Velcro them to your pads.
Yeah, I get that. Did you spray them down with Pam as well?
No.
You ever hear of that? You get a little kitchen oil on there and grease up.
Vaseline on the arms.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's about the extent I went, though.
Yeah, well, that's why you were D2.
I wasn't willing to go full bore.
Yeah, exactly. Sweet. All right, so we were talking a little NFL football. This last weekend, we learned a little bit more about what the playoff picture is going to look like. We're talking about the Seahawks. They get the win against Tennessee at Tennessee. I don't know if that was the toughest test on their list because they've got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town this week, and then the Arizona Cardinals are hosting them next week. That's how they finish out their season. We're talking about how their offense seems to stall and they don't really get the ball to playmakers as much as they should. I have this idea in my head, and I could be way off on it, but watching a lot of Ducks football and watching a lot of Seahawks football, do you think I'm way off base or maybe right on? Would Bo Nix possibly be the perfect quarterback for Pete Carroll's offense?
I have been beating that drum for a very long time.
It's a guy that makes the decisions as quick as possible. He can run, but is not his first option.
Right.
He just wants to get the ball out. There is nobody in college football, and this is statistically speaking, not my observation, that gets the ball out quicker and makes the decision, makes reads quicker than Bo Nix.
And is more efficient.
Yes.
That's the big key there. No one was more efficient that was his whole Heisman campaign. He is the most efficient quarterback in college football. I would like Bo Nix because when you look at this, even the biggest Geno Smith believers have to understand what Geno is. And he's a stopgap quarterback. Yep. He's not going to be your quarterback in 5 years. He's just too old.
Sure.
And if Drew Lock truly was the QB of the future, Drew Lock would have won that job by now.
Yeah, I would think so.
Did he come in his 2 backup starting games and when he came in for a drive or 2 against the Giants, look better than what he had in the past? Yeah, 100%. I totally think that. He's perfectly serviceable.
Sure.
But is he your quarterback of the future? No, because I think he would have gone out and won that job. So to me, I think if you have an opportunity to go out and get Penix or Bo Nix, I truly do think that Carroll and his staff should do that. The part that worries me is I think if they could have gotten the guy they wanted, they would have gotten Richardson this year, which makes me worry that they would go after Daniels the LSU QB.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things that concerns me as well, is the idea that the running quarterback was a solution. Russell Wilson had some special years in Seattle. There's no question about it. They won a Super Bowl. They went to a second, and they won a ton of football games with him. But at the same time, it was, as the relationship deteriorated, it was very difficult to watch him hold on to the ball and hold on to the ball. Now, somebody that can make a quick decision and get out of the pocket and run, it's wonderful, and I think everybody would want that. If everyone could have Lamar Jackson, they would. But the more amazing thing about Russell Wilson's tenure in Seattle is that he never got hurt. And that was the thing that was really more miraculous. But they went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl when they had the highest paid offensive line in football. And they did that when they had a underpaid, overperforming quarterback. And once he got paid and they could no longer pay the offensive line, that strategy looked more and more detrimental. Now, Russell Wilson throws a wonderful deep ball, and this big strike offense was really fun to watch in the regular season. But when they got to the playoffs, it wasn't an efficient way to win football games. So by going out and getting somebody like Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels, you're going to get that element that you're missing now with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, where that Russell Wilson had the ability to run and be the second leading rusher on your team, which to me is great. But at the same time, you get a young guy like Anthony Richardson. The first series that I watched him play, I'm like, well, he's not going to make it 3, 4, 5 games. There's no way you can stay healthy and do that. He was a guy that was so raw athletically that he could make something out of nothing. But at the same time, he was also so raw as a quarterback where he did not understand the position well enough, where you knew he wasn't going to make enough reads, and he was going to try to do too much with his legs. And what did he do? Concussion out for a game, then shoulder out for the season.
Yeah, I believe so. Or it might have been a shoulder ding and then
whatever it was. But he did not finish 3 games, and one of them put him out for the season. Yeah, something like that.
Minshew has basically gotten snaps in every game this year.
Yeah, and to me that was very, very predictable. The thing about Russell Wilson coming out too, though, is he played so much quarterback at NC State, then going to Wisconsin. I mean, he took a very academic approach to the game, and that's kind of why it made sense. But I remember Geno going in when Russ hurt his finger in his final season, and Geno Smith goes in there, and the first thing he does in the first series, where it's a guy not taking first team reps, was he got the ball out very quickly, and he got it to DK Metcalf often. And I'm like, when they went through the quarterback battle, I went, Geno is going to win this job, because that's what this offense needs. It needs somebody that can be efficient, quick decision-making, and go. And that's when they were really good with Russ. That's when they were really good with Geno. And then what happens is the tendency goes, well, I was the highest completion percentage quarterback in the league last year, and I won these games in my fourth quarter drives and all of this. You start holding on to the ball, and you do it on 3rd and longs, because this run game puts you in a lot of 3rd and longs, or the run first philosophy puts you in a lot of 3rd and longs. I just want to see somebody that can get in there, get the ball out quickly, let your playmakers do their thing. And Bo Nix seems to be that guy. Michael Penix holds onto the ball a lot longer, and his weapons are so good that I think that they sometimes get overshadowed because he was the Heisman favorite. But I'm sorry, like you give those weapons to most good college quarterbacks, and they are maybe not going to have a Heisman year, because I don't want to insinuate that he's not a special quarterback, because he is. But I think that they're going to have numbers that are going to be pretty outstanding.
Yeah, you have 3 NFL wide receivers that he's able to throw to. I mean, you look at the Pac-12 championship game.
Well, and McMillan was out until a big chunk of the year. He was out for the first Ducks game, and having McMillan back in there in the championship game,
huge difference. I mean, they went max protection because they knew they couldn't block Oregon's D-line, and then just had 3 guys out in a route, and they still won and were winning one-on-one matchups. The reason I do say Penix as like the number 2 option, because I agree with you. I am full on the Bo Nix hype train. I think Bo Nix also adds something that you don't really have in your offense that you had with Russ, and that's the ability to play action pass where you can get him out on the run.
Yep.
And it's a flood concept. He's got a guy short, he's got a guy long, he's got a guy in the middle.
And the quicker you make the
choice,
and the quicker you make the choice on those plays, the better they are.
And that's where it starts opening up Noah Fant and Parkinson and Ditzley, because now that's where you want those tight ends and you want one of them back in that fullback position, and all of a sudden everything just starts to open up. Plus he can run. The reason I do say Penix, though, is I do think he is efficient with the ball. He does hold on to the ball a little bit longer. He got bolstered by having the best offensive line. Literally, they got the Joe Moore Award in the entire NCAA. But as I look at the other quarterbacks that you could possibly maybe have a shot at getting, right? He seems like the next best option to Bo Nix, because you're not getting Caleb Williams and you're not getting Drake May.
Well, and I don't think Bo Nix is projected to be a first round pick unless somebody gets him late. And
it's all here's the thing, it's all going to change. Like, who's going to have the most impressive workout in shorts and a t-shirt?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they'll just jump up. That's what happened with Ryan Tannehill. Happened with Will Levis.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, but I just haven't heard any projections. Obviously, with more starts than anybody in college football last year, people have seen Bo Nix and what he can do, and he has not been a top guy on any of the draft boards that I've seen. So that's why I really like the idea too, because if you're not trading up and using all your draft capital to get him, that's where he becomes that much more valuable, and you bring him into camp, see what he can do, and again, efficiency is I think what the Seahawks need at that position. Let's look at a quick recap of who floundered and who put themselves in better position in the NFL. We'll do that to wrap up this hour. Next, it is a Ortner and Anderson edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. of college football. We can also refer to it in lower divisions of sports radio. We will have to punt on this segment. It looks like a little bit off the clock to start things off.
It happens.
But you know what? We're going to be here all week. You can get plenty of time with us. I do want to talk about rising and falling in the NFL because I need to get your thoughts on some of these teams. Had some really strange losses, at least in my mind. Chiefs losing to the Raiders, Falcons beating the Jaguars. Buccaneers beating the Jaguars. There's a couple things that I'm very curious about. So we'll save our breath on it right now.
We'll come back.
Well, yeah, we'll go back in time and take a look at that. But what I do want to do is I want to set you up for hour 2. I want to get you to start thinking about these things. This is a final year of the 4-team college football playoff. Next year we go to 12 teams. So I think a lot of people are willing to overlook the atrocity that is Florida State not getting in, the unfortunate circumstance that we run into every year where the 5th team is probably the better team. This happened multiple times. We haven't always had great semifinal games. We've had a few. We haven't had too many great championship games, but we've had a few. What needs to happen for the college football playoff, the 4-team college football playoff, to redeem itself? Like, what do you need to see this year? If you could script out the perfect ending to the era that was the 4-team college football playoff, what would it look like? I just want you to think on that. Marinate on that. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503 TOGO fan, TOGO fan.
Ooh.
Send in your thoughts. The Vancouver Ford text line, where your dollar goes further before, during, and after the sale. They treat you right. And then you can just go online to vancouverford.com. Send us in your thoughts. What if you could script it out? Here's what happens. Here's how it looks. That's how we're going to start hour 2. We're going to do that next. You're listening to a Ortner and Anderson edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. then Friday, that might be the end of our future. But hey, we're here at least for the week. I will be doing the Sinner and Saint on Saturday as well. Will, if you're bored, you're always welcome to drop in on that, because there's going to be plenty of college football to talk about then as we get closer to the college football playoff, the New Year's 6, Oregon versus Liberty.
Will trying to not be hungover while he talks about the game.
You? There's two Wills on the show.
Well,
Ortner.
It'll be New Year's Eve, then the day before.
What?
Yeah.
Well, we're not doing New Year's Day.
No. I'm saying
we're doing
we
the
got
30th.
a Dutch post game.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be.
Yeah.
That's going to be rough.
It's going to be tough for a 20-year-old. Well, guy in their 20s.
Yeah.
I'm not 20 years old anymore.
A early...
Mid-20s.
I need to think of what year. Oregon played in the Rose Bowl? Maybe? Either way, we had a New Year's Day show, Sinner and Saint. Early start.
Ooh.
Did the first segment from the Markham Bridge.
Oh, that's the famous bridge show.
Oh yeah. I was rolling in. I almost made it in time.
Was that the one where did they raise the bridge, or were you?
No. I woke up and I was like, I need to be there, and I just got in the car. It was just hauling. But yeah, it was. The funny thing was, it wasn't even like wild night. Like, I did stay out too late, but I didn't go out and party. It was the first year we did anything with like the kids, or like. They're maybe 2 years old, one or two. And we went over to my brother's house, and I'm like, they'll be asleep by 10, and then we'll take them home and we'll go. Man, those kids powered through and stayed up till like 2 a.m. We were just laughing so hard because they were playing with their older cousins and like doing like the Just Dance game on the machine. And we're just like getting 1,000 videos. And they're like, yeah, I could have another beer. Yeah, I could have another champagne. Yeah, I could have another whiskey. And then next thing you know, I woke up and, hey, Will, yeah, I'm almost there.
Coming in, my bad.
Oh, yeah. But on air, just drive it in. Oh, so he just put me on air, and I was calling it. It was a
we had to do that one time for Dirt in the summer. It was me and Sprague in here during the summer of swag, and
sure.
It was I believe it was 5:59, right as my update bed ended. Sprague looks at me and goes, Did Dirt tell you he wasn't coming today? And I was like, no, I figured he told you he wasn't coming today. He goes, oh no.
Did you call him and wake him up?
He called us we were making fun of him. He called us from his car.
Nice.
I think the initial answer was, I'm not on air yet, right? Right, you're not on air. And then a sentence I can't repeat, and then we put him on air.
Fantastic.
He's a good sport about it.
Well, you have to be. Listen, you know, it
happens.
It's so funny if you're late for something that's important. You assume everybody is talking trash about you, but if you're late to be on the air, you can actually turn on the channel and listen to them talk trash about you. So I've done that more than once where, you're like, all right, let's listen in to them rip on me for not being there on time.
Gotta go listen, see what's happening. Yeah, I have to do that every once in a while. Like, depending on things that I've said, or if I've been in the gym around one Jason Sukanik.
Oh yeah.
I have to tune in just to see if he talks about some of the things that we see in that place.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a great place with a lot of wonderful people.
Sure. Yeah.
But every once in a while, you see something, and me and him, we just kind of make eye contact. Like, did that really just happen?
Is this like people misusing the equipment, or?
Oh, I found a kid napping before in there.
Oh, that's a good place to nap.
Yeah, it was very funny. He was napping on one of the box jumps. Completely just like found a spot, laid down. All of a sudden, he was snoring. There's a lot of people that come up to Suk and I. That want to tell us about their weightlifting journey.
Oh, sure.
Their fitness journey.
And do they know who you are? Or they just know you're big guys.
They know who he is.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And also, it's the ultimate, like, I've slimmed down a little bit.
Sure.
And so I'm like, the hots at the gym will want to come and say what's up.
Of course they do.
It's all dudes. I am that meme where, like, you think it's going to be girls, it's all dudes, and they all want to know, like, how'd you get that big? How'd you do this?
Yeah.
But they like to go to Suk because Suk is much older than me.
Yeah.
And it's, how did you maintain?
Yep.
For me, it's like, oh, you're 26.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're in decent shape.
You're an Adonis. Oh my God, you're so hot, dude.
Yeah. You're a high. What do they call it? The high value male.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you're dressing up and trying to get fit or whatever, it is the same sex that is like, oh my God.
They're very interested.
Oh yeah. Yep. Same thing. It works the other way for gals too. You know, they dress up and all the girls just, and then the guys are too intimidated to talk to them if they look too good.
Well, there's not many good pickup lines like 6 squat form there, dude.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. It's a weird spot to hit on people.
There's no question about that. All right, so I asked you a question, young man.
You did.
You're very excited about the college football playoff. Tell me, sir, what is your perfect script if you're drawing it up? If you're the college football playoff committee, not as a Northwest sports fan, right. I don't know if you're rooting for Washington or I want this team to win, but what do you want to see if you're the college football playoff committee, if you're ESPN who owns the college football playoff through this year and then they're splitting it with Fox next year? What would be the perfect ending to this to be like, told you we got it right? Don't worry, Florida State. We're going to put on such a show that you can't even be mad at it. What does it look like to you?
I think in the Rose Bowl, it obviously has to come down to the wire, and it's going to be knock 'em, sock 'em out. But I truly do think Michigan winning that game and winning by like a last-second field goal or a last-second touchdown.
And the Rose Bowl is Michigan, Alabama. For anybody that doesn't know, Alabama, of course, we hate.
Right.
But you think Michigan winning is a better scenario, even with all the controversy around it?
Because of the storyline.
Okay.
Because think about it, all year, Jim Harbaugh's been suspended multiple times. Yep. He's been out there saying, we're America's team. This is what we are. There are multiple gigantic social media influencers that are fans of Michigan, big time fans. So just by Michigan moving on to the playoff, that's going to allow them to tweet more and post more about it, and it's going to drum up
more controversy,
more interest. Yes.
Yeah. The winner of that team is automatically the villain. Do we agree with that?
Exactly. Well, and I wonder too, to a degree, if you have a little bit of Alabama fatigue.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm not saying that Michigan will win this game. I just think from a rating standpoint, it's almost better if Harbaugh's in there because of the things that he will say and what he will drum up.
Yeah. Where Saban, he's going to just be professional and no quotes and no nothing.
And you have a blue blood. Michigan is a blue blood. They are probably
Michigan fans are everywhere
too. They might be the most recognizable college football brand, maybe. And that's why I think that in the other game, as much as it pains me, because I am a Pac-12 guy, ride or die.
Yeah. Well, it died.
Well, I'm going to ride it out until it's officially taken its last breath. We're on hospice right now.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I think it would be better for the committee for Texas to win, because I think that you have the same scenario here. And again, it needs to be close, like within a touchdown, and it's, rock'em sock'em robots the entire way through. But if Texas wins, you now have a team from the South, you have a team from the Midwest. And when you think of college football, if you're going through your top 5 teams, Texas and Michigan are in there. I don't know if they are, number 1 and number 2 all time, like nationally when you're talking brands. I just
put in just for your reference and the listeners here. Looking at, I put in most valuable college football brand. And this is according to, it appears to be a site called Medium, where they evaluated all the programs. Number 1, most valuable brand, Ohio State. Number 2, Michigan. 3, Alabama, Notre Dame, Georgia, LSU, Penn State, Texas.
Wow, I would have put Texas higher.
I would have thought so too. I was actually kind of curious that you're saying that, but I mean,
just from a national standpoint, like Ohio State makes sense to me being, but again, like
Ohio State, Michigan are probably 1 and 1A, I would imagine,
right?
Just because of how close they are. I'm scrolling down the list: 24 Oregon, 27 Washington, and UCLA ahead of Washington.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to look at the metrics.
That's got to be strictly LA based. But my whole reasoning on this is they're going to want a good game, and they don't want Alabama Texas 2.0. I don't think that a rerun gets you more drama or gets you more numbers.
Here's the metrics. I just want to give you this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just keep interrupting you. You're so smart and handsome, and I just keep interrupting you.
You have more hair than me, so you can interrupt.
Based on home attendance, market size, /share of that market size. Valuation. So this is a Wall Street Journal calculated how much each college football team it would be worth on the open market. So if you could sell it out there, social media following and TV viewership. And again, so here's your top 10: Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Notre Dame, Georgia, LSU, Penn State. Penn State makes sense. Texas, Auburn, Oklahoma. That's your top 10.
So they have Texas at what, 7?
Texas at 8.
8. My math is off.
Yeah, and then if you're looking for what used to be the Pac-12, SC is 19.
19. That's your top. Used to be Pac-12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. But again, I think that's why, like, when you think of college football, and maybe this is just because in my head, the first football game that I truly remember is the USC-Texas Rose Bowl.
Okay, I can see
that's what I remember.
Yeah, your age, yeah.
So I always remember Texas being a big name. And if you're a kid in that Texas area or you're down south, that's where you wanted to go. Obviously, they've struggled before, but now that Sark's there, it seems like they're trending up. In my head, I think two close semifinals. You get Michigan, you get Texas. Those are your two biggest brands that are on opposite sides, right? Because Alabama and Michigan are obviously the two biggest brands, and they're going to play in the Rose Bowl, which is what you want. It's going to be the most viewed game anyways. Yeah. Then you can finally get Texas, Michigan, and then I really don't think that it matters who wins as long as it is, again, within one score. Yeah. If it's Texas that wins, Texas is officially back. You can finally say that, and they are there. And Sark has done it.
If they make it to the national championship game, does that not make them back?
I think they're already back.
Well,
they
sure. They're in the college football playoff, yeah.
They're back in my eyes, but you can officially even
beating Alabama. Because last year they played Alabama really close, and then they beat them this year. They're in the college football playoff. Losing to Oklahoma was not great, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it puts them back. The other thing I'm looking at this list too, and like just looking at Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame being 3 of the top 4. They haven't had the success that Alabama has had, but I think that they're more widespread. Maybe I'm mistaken on this, but I feel like if you go to Michigan, you're not necessarily preordained to stay in Michigan. Same thing with Ohio State. I don't think people are moving to Ann Arbor for school and staying in Ann Arbor for life.
No.
Whereas I think Texas pretty much covers the state of Texas. And a lot of people stay in Austin or stay in the state of Texas, where I don't think they have as much broad appeal outside of it. Like, I don't think there's more Michigan fans here than there are Texas fans. And you could probably say the same thing in the Northeast, and you could probably say the same thing in Southern California and those areas. I think you'll find more Michigan fans in every town USA than you would Texas fans. Yeah, people know Texas, but I think they're more Michigan fans.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. And I think,
and same with Alabama too. I think there's more Michigan fans than Alabama fans. If you just go and did a straw poll at your local pub. Across the way. So yeah, I think you may be right. Texas plays the villain without being the tired Alabama villain. And I think Michigan has enough sweethearts out there that you kind of go. Well, so I think you're right. I think you kind of nailed it. And of course, you want the football games to be great.
Yeah, because if they're not great, then it doesn't matter. But the big thing for Michigan,
I think it does matter. If you have Michigan and Texas roll in there and just whoop them. Yeah, it's not great for the aesthetic of those games. But man, get that hype train rolling.
Well, I'll tell you what, dude. I'm a big football guy. I watched maybe a quarter and a half of Georgia TCU.
Well, yeah, because there was nothing to it. But he also, like the New Year's Day semifinal games. I mean, you can obviously hope and pray that all of those games become good games, but the chances are I'd much rather have it where I guess the semifinals have similar results.
Fair. Okay.
Where you go into it for the hype. I think I think it's far more important that if you get one great game, that it's the championship game.
Yes.
I think that's how you have to have it. You have to have a memorable on-field performance for the championship game. If you have a repeat of what you had last year, I think everybody looks at the college football playoff and go, that was a big waste of time. And I think that's kind of where I am right now. I think it was, by and large, a failed experiment. Obviously, they're moving to 12. So of course it wasn't going to stick, but I think it was pretty bad. I mean, on Saturday, Darkins bangs the drum that he'd rather go back to the BCS because the playoff was so bad. You're never going to go backwards.
No.
But how many teams, when you played D2, how many playoff teams did you have in D2?
28, 7 from each region. So 4 regions, 7.
Was it unbearable for these guys to go out and play that many football games?
No.
Do you buy that narrative at all?
No, it was a flawed system designed on purpose to make people mad.
Yeah, okay.
It was only a matter of time before a team like FSU got left out. It was going to happen.
I need to know why. Well, okay. You really think it was engineered to make people mad?
I do.
Okay.
I think all of their systems are.
I want to hear why. We'll do that next. You're listening to Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. Let's not evaluate things with references to Harry Potter, please. Harry Potter's fine. It is what it is. My wife loves Harry Potter. My kids are starting to get into Harry Potter. It's all fine, but Minnesota ran a trick play, and it didn't work. And it was a dumb play. It was the one where you spread out all your players across the line of scrimmage, and then you snap it to the one guy, and he tries to outrun it to the edge, and maybe he throws it, maybe he doesn't. But it's the one where you just have the center. They did it with their kicker. It was like on a 2-point conversion, and they line up for the extra point, and they snap it back to the kicker. It's a dumb play.
Yep.
He almost got in, but you know what? Kicker versus linebacker. Linebacker beat him to the edge. Go figure. Dumb play.
Right.
If you're going to evaluate it, first of all, trick plays by nature, if they don't work, they always look stupid. Do we all agree with that?
Always. Well,
And
any
if they work,
decision looks stupid when it doesn't work.
well, yeah, but you can always in football go, what? That was the worst play I've ever seen. It's like, well, maybe it wasn't supposed to work that way, or maybe they just got beat by a defense that was ready for it, right? Like, it's if they work, they're amazing. If they don't, they're stupid. That's how trick plays more than anything else. But the sports writer that decided to disparage the play, which again, you're starting off with a negative way, but then he compares it to Harry Potter. That play needs to be burnt up like Harry Potter destroyed the Horcrux. Let's not do that. Yeah.
Nerd.
You don't know enough about
journalists that are nerds.
You don't know enough about football to be talking about this, and you know too much about Harry Potter to be talking about this. So let's just save everybody the trouble. Go away. Will's going to come over to your house and beat you up.
I will, as someone who has read the Harry Potter books, all of them.
Sure.
And stayed up till midnight for the last release. Yeah. If you quote Harry Potter in football and basketball and baseball.
In sports.
You're a nerd.
In sports. Just
can't do
it. Separate. And you can love Harry Potter. I don't care.
Yeah.
But just know that it's stupid and sports fans don't want to hear it.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay. Just wanted to get that out there. You, sir, were talking about college football designed this playoff, or ESPN.
Yeah.
Designed it on purpose to piss people off.
Right.
Same thing with the BCS?
Yeah. I mean,
same thing with the system they had before?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
why?
Think about it. It's because
I've just thought they were stupid all this time. You're telling me that they're not stupid, they're smart, they're just intentionally mean.
No, I think they are stupid.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you were going to defend that they were not stupid.
No.
Oh, okay.
There was never a defense here for the NCAA. I mean, they're the only ones.
Remember, the college football playoff is not run by the NCAA. It is owned and operated by ESPN.
Right, but I'm not even talking about the college football playoff. I'm just like, let's go all the way back.
Sure, please.
I mean, remember, until the late 90s, you decided a champion by getting a bunch of old dudes in a room, and they were like, here's my top 25 teams. Yep. And so then one team, like, I don't know, no offense, BYU, you know, they would have a vote, and then they could go, I am a national champion. I am a number one team. I mean, Miami and UW, they share one.
Miami lost to Washington in that season.
Right.
And I'm not even a Washington fan.
Right. So you have all these different years where forever, for decades, it was literally like, well, I guess we just trust our eyes. Then you're like, we're going to come up with a better system. We're going to have an actual championship game.
Yeah, just one game.
And to do that, we're going to use computers where multiple times.
I love the idea that they're like,
they just use ChatGPT.
Guess what we've done? We've employed a computer. And that was the dumbest thing, is telling people that you had a computer doing it. Because that just makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yes, because what do football players hate more? We just talked about it. Nerds.
Yes.
All fans, coaches, players, they hate nerds. When they hear computer, instantly they all go, oh my God, a nerd is determining my fate. And again, the issue with the BCS computer algorithm is even though it is a computer algorithm, it's still based on rankings and what the formula says it's supposed to look for.
And the rankings are so arbitrary. You do them at the beginning of the year and you're, whoops, we were wrong.
Who creates the algorithm? People do.
Yeah.
And it's a flawed system. Like there was one year in the early 2000s where Miami was the best team and they get left out and have to go play Florida, even though, if I remember right, they beat FSU that year and FSU still got in.
Yeah.
So then you have that issue, and then they go and they design the college football playoff. Well, the whole thing was when they designed the football playoff is what they wanted to do was they wanted to do 6 teams. But the NCAA threw up their arms and they were like, well, we can't do 6 teams because think about the children. Think about the children. We can't do six teams. That's too many games.
That's just
we can't have 5.
Isn't it just the dumbest argument?
They use these dumb arguments all the time. Yeah. And that's why they went with 4, so they didn't have to get every Power 5 conference in and have a group of 5 team in. They went with 4. Well, guess what? If you have a year where all 5 conferences have an undefeated team, just like you had this year pretty much, you had to leave one team out.
Yeah.
And this year proved it. You were never going to leave out an SEC team. I also guarantee that if roles were flipped and say it was like Michigan that had the one loss, but Michigan had beat Ohio State and they had beat Penn State, much like Alabama had done with Georgia and with Ole Miss and LSU and all the teams that they played, they would make sure that Michigan got in. The Big Ten and SEC were never going to get screwed.
Of course not.
It was going to be the Pac-12, the ACC, and the Big 12.
If Oregon won the Pac-12 championship game, they'd be out.
I think there's a decent chance that
100% they would have been out with all the results staying the same. Mm-hmm. There's no way. Washington is in over Florida State. That makes sense. A one-loss Oregon never would have been in over Florida State, and they wouldn't have been in over Alabama, and they wouldn't have been in over Texas.
I think there's a decent chance that if, let's say, in the Pac-12 championship game happens, like that game happens the same way, except last drive, Michael Penix, his arm falls off.
If he got hurt,
body. If he literally throws the ball and his arm stays attached to the ball that he threw, I think there's a chance UW gets left out.
Yeah.
But it's because it's designed for this failure. Yeah. And some people are going to say, well, I used the big brain play here and I helped vote for it to be 4 so that it would show everyone that it was wrong so we could get to 12 sooner. But really, this was designed to be this way. And it was designed to be flawed and it was designed to make people mad. Yeah. And I think secretly, they want you mad because what do you do when you're mad?
You watch.
You watch or you talk about it. You know what I haven't stopped hearing or seeing on Danny Cannell's Twitter?
Oh, why would you follow Danny Cannell's Twitter?
I don't. The algorithm hates me. There's a lot of hate watching that Will does.
Fair enough.
Danny Cannell has just been railing against this. I mean, there are people running for president of the United States right now that are actively trying to sue the NCAA for Florida State. And at the end of the day, all eyes are good eyes. Yeah. And that's why they designed it this way.
All right. I'll take your word for it. I think they designed it this way because they're stupid, and that's all there is to it. But you have a much longer explanation, and if you believe that, I hope you're happy. I just think that watching the culmination of a sports season, and you can go, and we're doing it with the NFL, and we'll get back into the NFL. But you look at it and you go, if this happens, you get the last spot. That to me is fun. Sure. Here's all the tiebreakers. Here's what you have to do. You get to the beginning of a college football season, at least this year, and go, what do you have to do to make it to the college football playoff? And everybody just goes, I don't know. Go undefeated? Nope. That's not the answer, Florida State. Win every game on my schedule? Nope. That's not it. Wrong.
Schedule different conference games on the road.
They beat LSU to open it.
They beat Florida on the road.
I know.
Beat Clemson on the road.
They beat both of their opponents that are in the SEC, didn't they? Did Alabama win their non-conference?
Not all of them.
No, they did not. No, they did not. Did Texas go undefeated in their conference?
No, they did not.
And the argument that Alabama belongs there because Texas is a good loss. Now defend the Oklahoma loss for me.
That's one of the craziest.
Now defend the Oklahoma loss for me. So if the Alabama has to be in because they have the best loss, okay, then why is it? What then? Oh well, they beat them head to head. It's circular logic and it's very stupid. College football is stupid until next year, where it's less dumb, but it's still dumb.
Couldn't be more right. Like it's so dumb. Yeah. But it's perfect for football fans.
It's perfect for college football fans as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about a team that is breaking records. They're fantastic. They're doing it in a sport called basketball, and I think we might have a little team party coming up on February 8th, because if this is still going by then, I'm gonna tell you where we're going and why we're going. It's going to be awesome. But before we talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, Will Ordner with a SportsCenter update. This hates Scoot Henderson and wants to write him down as a bust already. Go ahead and do so. That's fantastic. If anybody thinks Anthony Simons is not a player to build a team around, that's perfectly fine. If anybody thinks that this roster construction is too all over the place and the assets that you have on this team aren't of value to any other team, even at the trade deadline, they're not going to get better. If they go into the draft, no matter where they finish, they can't do anything right. You have to fire Chauncey Billups. I get it. The Blazers aren't good right now, but guess what? This is what a rebuild looks like, right? The Blazers are in the middle of a rebuild. They got rid of their franchise's best player in a lot of people's opinion, their best player ever. Not everyone agrees with that, but certainly one of their best players.
Right.
Damian Lillard leaves, you're in a rebuild. It's not going to be pretty all of the time. This is not a bottoming out. You know how I know that?
You could be somewhere in the Eastern
Because of Detroit. The Detroit Pistons are bottoming out in historical fashion. Their 27th straight loss, now an NBA record holder for the worst team we've ever seen. That doesn't make them the worst team we've ever seen. That's maybe not fair to say, but certainly the worst losing streak. They started the year 2-1.
That was going to be my fun fact. I was going to drop that on you. That's what I do at holiday get-togethers right now.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember when the Pistons were 2-1?
Yeah, they were above 500 at one point. At one point during this season, they were above 500, and they lost their first game.
At one point this season, they were above 500, and the Blazers have never been above 500.
There you go. Yeah, that's that. I like that. So whatever you think the formula is for success in the NBA, I'm just going to tell you you're probably wrong.
Right.
Unless the formula is go to the championship game and win it, that's not a formula. That's a result. There is not a formula that anybody can read. And listen, if you want to tell me that Oklahoma City is doing everything right and then they're destined to win a championship because they stockpiled all of these picks, cool. Tell me I'm wrong, but I will believe it when I see it. They are a better team than they were. They're not as good as Minnesota right now, which Minnesota has been the team that is supposed to be good every year. Guess what? I also don't believe in Minnesota until I see it.
Right.
Rudy Gobert, Cat, and Ant-Man have not led a team to a championship. So until I see it, I do not buy it. I think Denver's going to be there at the end. I would not be surprised if the Lakers are there at the end if they stay healthy. I would not be terribly surprised if the Warriors started to turn things around and were there at the end. I would be, however, surprised if the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves are there at the end of the season in the Western Conference. I will say that right now. A team that I know will not be there at the end is the Detroit Pistons.
No, 100%. I mean,
what did they do for what did they do for their coaching? What was their move? What was their big all-in move? We need to turn things around.
The Wingstop ad?
No.
Have you not seen that, by the way?
I've not.
You don't know about this?
No, I need to learn this. I'm an old person.
Wingstop and the Detroit Pistons made a deal that whenever the Pistons win, you eat for free, or you get 5 wings free at Wingstop.
Any Wingstop anywhere in the country?
In the Detroit one.
I know.
They haven't won since they made that deal.
That is fantastic.
Haven't won since they made
Who
that
did they
deal.
hire to be their head coach?
For this year?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Joe Judge.
Their new coach is the 2022 NBA Coach of the Year, the 21 and 22 NBA Coaches Association Coach
Monty.
of the Year. The highest paid coach in the NBA is Monty Williams.
I forgot he went to Detroit.
For anybody, look,
that's
I know the Blazers
horrible.
aren't good. For anybody that is on the Fire Chauncey bandwagon, who are you going to hire? Just tell me this. Who are you going to hire?
It's always
How much are you going to pay him?
It can always
Nobody is being paid more money than Monty Williams to coach an NBA basketball team. No one has ever lost 27 straight games until now.
Yeah, not in one season.
If you think you can go around and get the carryover, they're chasing that record down.
If they lose one more, they They tie the carryover.
And they play Brooklyn again, I believe, if we look at their schedule.
Oh, Brooklyn will kill them.
Yeah. So I was looking at this the other night. This is the party that I'm going to, and I might just buy the tickets right now. But the Detroit Pistons are traveling right here to the Rose City on February 8th. I don't know how many wins they have by February 8th. But when oh no, I talked about it on Saturday. I ruined it.
People are already starting to buy.
Tickets are up to $6 now.
Tickets are up to $6? Dude, I gotta find a date.
No joke, on Saturday, they were listed at $4.
I could get in and get reasonable tickets with a date. She might think I have money.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
No, it's not.
You can go to the Pistons and Blazers at Moda for $6 right now. And that's up from $4.
That's fantastic.
Actually, here's another date. I'm looking at this right now. Let's see if these are home games. You can also get them for $6 against Brooklyn on the 17th. If you'd like to do that, you can get games on the 14th of January for $14 against the Suns.
Dude, that's a great.
This is according to ESPN. They've got the tickets as low as price right up here. But yeah, on Saturday when we looked at that, it was $4 to go to that game.
I'm gonna start taking dates. Like, this is a great idea. I'm gonna get club level tickets for like $30.
Yep.
And my date's going to be like, wow, radio pays him pretty well. He does okay as a teacher.
Yeah.
This is a man I might want to hang around.
And all these dudes keep coming up to him at the game, asking him about his body.
All the dudes at the gym. Even when if you squint and it's really dark, he kind of looks like Travis Kelce. Like, I got to love this guy.
You got a lot going for you. You got a lot going for you, Mr. Horner. Hopefully,
I helped losing Blazers.
If I helped you, hopefully I helped some of our listeners, and they can go out and try to be a baller just like you. So if you're mad about the rebuild here in Portland, look to Detroit. If you're mad about the rebuild here in Portland, buy tickets and go use it to help you get laid. It'll be
That's
great.
the plan.
It'll be great. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where we go from here. What do you want to talk about, young man? I want to get back into the NFL, but I want to do that in an hour or two. But I do want to make sure that I throw it over to you for what we need to talk about.
Well,
do you have any thoughts that you want to hit on here in the last segment of the hour?
I got a little sick last night, and so I had to watch some podcasts, and I've got some commentary on social media and podcast commentary from Will Ortner. We will do that next. You're listening to Dirt and Sprague with Luke Anderson and Will Ortner on 1080 The Fan.
the beginning of the year. So if you're just jumping in for your normal daily commute, what are you doing? It's a week between Christmas and New Year's.
Your boss is brutal, man.
No kidding, man. They'll start Jan 1, start looking at the employment pages and see what's available out there. Because, if they're making you work on your regular schedule. Us, on the other hand, we get to work extra.
We're choosing to do this.
It's pretty fun.
Excitedly.
Let's be honest. This is a good old time. But if you're just joining the show, it is me, Luke Anderson, with Will Ortner, and we're filling in for the show today. But for a little behind the scenes, Will Ortner is doing double duty. He's producing the show and co-hosting it. You wouldn't know that by listening because it's so seamless.
Well, that's one way to describe my producing skills.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, you're doing a great job.
Well, I'll take it.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
So take all the credit now. But what I want to do is give back. Because you're doing such a great job, I wanted to throw a segment your direction, let you talk about what you want to talk about, and you wanted to make some commentary on social media and podcasting, two things that I'm not a major consumer of.
Unfortunately, I am. This is kind of like what I. Well, I like to listen to podcasts.
You're a 20-something.
Yeah.
I am a 40-something. You and I live in two different worlds.
Right.
We have our feet in two different worlds. Mine is parenting and ignoring. Like, if I go a whole day without looking at my phone, I'm over the moon.
Yeah, no, I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone in the breaks. Like I'm Snapchatting right now.
Yeah, of course you are. I know you're telling me about your Snapchats, but you're also a single man.
Right. Well,
it had important.
It had to be talked about. We had to have a discussion. But last night I couldn't sleep because it's a morning show, so I tried to go to bed at 9.
Yeah.
Was asleep for like an hour or two. Then I'm wide awake, can't fall asleep. At that point, my dog's asleep, so it's like, all right, I don't want to wake him up. I should do something on my phone.
Sure.
And so I'm sitting there and it's classic me. It starts off with like a couple Instagram hots and then it dives into weightlifting. And it's a bunch of just like
I think you did that backwards.
Super roided up jack dudes. And they're talking about like, their weightlifting like techniques and like what they're doing and like what their nutrition is.
Even if I did go on social media, you and I would be going in two different directions.
Two different directions.
Jeez.
This is one of this.
Well, okay, can I ask you a quick question about the super jacked, roided up dudes?
Yes.
I imagine it's very much like the Instagram hots. How many of them are telling you the truth?
That's my whole thing here. Because they go in. Now, there are some, like, they're these twins. They're called the Trend Twins. That's a steroid. Everyone knows they're on steroids.
Gotcha. Okay.
But then there's a bunch of these other people that are like, no, I'm natural. Like,
who's the guy that only ate liver?
Oh, Liver King.
Yeah.
The dude was juiced to the gill. He's so funny because
his regiment came out and it was insane.
He was on every steroid known to man, and his whole thing was like, I am great because I eat liver. And he's back on steroids because when he tried to get off, it almost killed him. It literally almost killed him. He was taking that many steroids. So this is my gripe because I see it all the time as a teacher now.
Yeah.
I dive into these videos and I'll be teaching PE or I'll be, helping with weights or whatever I'm teaching at a school or helping with a football team that I'm helping with at Hawkinson. And I hear my players be like, oh, I want to look like Bradley Martin, or I want to look like the Trend Twins, or I want to look like The Rock.
Yeah.
And then you have to go
Are
in.
you suggesting
Dude,
The Rock
come on.
Are you suggesting The Rock
50.
is not natural?
He's 50, and he had to have gyno surgery when he was a WWE wrestler. That doesn't just happen when you're 24.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Barry Bonds' head just didn't grow at 37.
What?
Right? So when I see these videos, I get so mad because I have these like impressionable youths that are watching this.
He cares about the children, ladies and gentlemen. More importantly, ladies, he cares about the children.
I want to look like these jacked up dudes, and you don't have the heart to tell them like you will never look like them. One, because that's genetics, but two, the amount of steroids they're on is ridiculous and it's not safe. And because they make a bunch of money, they can have the surgeries and the procedures that they need to keep themselves healthy and alive.
How many of these guys are you talking like cosmetic surgeries or is that pretty prevalent in the bodybuilding world?
I'd have to go and
is it just getting surgery to remove the extra glands that are developed by injecting all the steroids or whatever?
Well, there's extra stuff that you have to take out, but a lot of times like when you take a steroid, it like will enlarge your heart and your blood vessels.
So then you have to take out like ribs so your heart has room.
Well, so like guys like Arnold, he'll have heart surgery every like 4 or 5 years to clean all that stuff up so that he can still keep kicking. Oh yeah, Stallone does it too, I believe. I'm gonna say I believe on all these and allegedly.
Yeah, these are all alleged.
Before I go back through and I look it up, but I remembered hearing about this before.
Stallone has not aged.
No, he's 76.
Yeah, it's almost grotesque.
It's ridiculous.
But it makes him so much money that you can see why people emulate it.
Right. Well, and here's the worst part. Because you know what I was thinking at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep?
What's that?
This morning? Well, maybe.
Yeah. What are you on? And you don't. I mean,
absolutely nothing.
No supplements or no nothing. Like, where do you draw the line?
I am on fat kid anger. I was fat, and now I'm angry about it. Yeah. And I'm angry because I thought if I got less fat, I'd get chicks, and I do not.
Wow, that's when you realize you have no personality.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. I'm also, not a lot of money.
I might have a personality, but at least I don't have money.
They also don't love when you rap while you're working out. I'm working on that one too.
Rapping?
Yeah, I sing the songs when I work out.
Okay. Right.
But that's
but that's also not the place to pick up. We've talked about this.
We have, yes. It's not, and that's why I rap and sing when I work out.
There you go.
But like my whole thing about supplements and stuff is I don't know where any of that comes from, and so I've just never done like the furthest you're gonna see me is like a C4 energy drink or like a Rain energy drink, something of that nature. Yeah, just to me, I don't know what that stuff is. I don't know where it came from. And so like when I was playing football, I never wanted to accidentally test positive.
Sure.
Because I'm gullible at times, and I believe guys like Taylor Lewan where they're like, well, I was told to take this supplement. I was told it was okay.
Sure.
And I had no idea. He probably knew. Of course. So for me, it was always like, I didn't want to be the guy.
I always feel
positive.
Like it's somebody starts to tell you about what's in it. If you're Barry Bonds, because you used his example of his giant head.
Right.
It's pretty easy to get the plausible deniability when you go, I don't want to know.
Right.
And then somebody goes, did you know? I didn't know.
I had no idea.
I actually told him that I didn't want to know. Like, he started to tell me how illegal this stuff was. I literally said, I don't want to know. I just want to hit the baseball further. I think that's really what it runs down to is you trick yourself into going, I don't want to know. That way I can deny it when it happens. I think that's a trick. How many guys did you play with that were 100% taking something? And you don't need names or anything.
Depends on what you would classify, but as a like illegal stuff. Yeah, I know guys.
I know, but what is it? 10%, 5%, 25%? Like how many, like on and this is a D2 football. I imagine the numbers would skew depending on the school and depending on the level of football, but it's certainly a sport fraught with it, I would imagine, the game of football. So if you had to make a guess?
I don't know how comfortable I am with that. It's higher than you think.
Well, I said 25.
It's higher than you think, but it's also.
I think it's high. I don't know how. I mean, I don't want to put you in a bad spot,
right?
But I think it's very high, and I think there are more people out there that are lying not only to the league and the coaches and themselves, but I think everybody's culpable. I think everybody knows. I think it's a worst kept secret in sports, and I think the way baseball handled it, where they went out and turned it into a witch hunt, was one of the dumbest PR things that they could have ever done. The 1998 home run chase was one of the most entertaining times in sports history. And the Barry Bonds home run chases, they would cut in for every at-bat Barry Bonds had. Right. And 60% of them, they intentionally walked him. So I have no problem with steroids in sports. I have no reason to take steroids because what am I gonna do with them?
Exactly.
Cool. I could throw and jump and run farther and faster or whatever. But there's no risk reward quotient that makes it practical for me.
100%.
But at the same time, like if you're trying to be a professional athlete and you're talking about the difference between being a AAA pitcher and a major league pitcher, or a guy that has been a journeyman that's hanging on at the end of his career, I think there's as many people that are nowhere near superstardom that are trying to hang on to that paycheck or that lifestyle or that dream that are doing things that were throwing the balls to Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, that were playing right field, watching the home run fly over their head, than anybody will ever know. Because I'm telling you, if it's going to make you, tens of millions of dollars at the high end, it's going to make you hundreds of thousands of dollars on the bottom end. Still worth it.
Oh, Brett Boone. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, but Brett Boone again. But
that's Brett Boone.
But how many middle relievers were taking something to get one more? One more time in the rotation this season to stay on the roster that much longer. The guys that you will never hear of, and somebody goes, "Hey, this was the difference that got me from double A to the bigs."
Right. Well, and the other thing,
look at the physique of baseball players. They don't exist in nature, and look at football. They don't exist in other sports. So yeah, I think in football. Right. I'd be surprised if the number is anywhere south of 50%.
Also, just like to be clear too, it's not like the old days. No one's taking like horse tranquilizer or whatever Mark McGwire was on. It's all more different. Subtle. Well, and the cheaters will always be ahead of the testers. It always exists this way. I don't know if you've ever read The Cycle of Lies, the book about Lance Armstrong. No, but I watched Icarus.
Okay, yeah, but in the book they go through the history of doping in cycling. Mm-hmm. And forget like all of the, and I didn't watch Icarus, so I don't know if they do the same thing. But it wasn't just what happened on the postal service team.
Yeah,
it was what had happened since the beginning. They introduced that race, and it was so grueling. Everybody was cheating from day one.
You have to.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Because that's how Icarus talks about it. Like, and Icarus is more on how the Russians cheated.
Oh, gotcha.
In Sochi, but
yeah.
Totally worth it. Great documentary.
I'll have to watch that. All right. Cheating in sports exists. I'm sorry to break the bubble for everybody. Hour 3, we'll start with more NFL talk. We'll look back at who was rising, who was falling in the weekend that was, and look ahead to the games that we're excited about moving forward. We'll do that next. This is Dirt and Sprague with Luke Anderson and Will Ortner filling in on 1080 The Fan and the Odyssey app. home comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. Those podcasts will be available soon, if not already. I don't know how fast you are.
Well, I need something from Swag.
Okay, you'll get them later.
I need the tag.
Yeah, what is he doing? What is he, home with COVID?
Well, probably trying to recover.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
From a thing that caused a pandemic.
Yeah, like it's just being sick now, isn't it?
I don't know. Coach Lanning told me that being sick is a choice. So
Coach Dan Lanning told you that?
He told. Well, I think he more told Rob. I was just on the phone with him. It was a whole hullabaloo. Rob had the runs, and Coach Lanning said that was Bush League.
Yeah, being sick is a choice. Was he genuinely being honest?
Yeah. He's got some good football coach in him. That is a pretty good football coach. Genuine football coach answer there.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to get into COVID talk. We did enough of that on these airwaves over the last however many years. But at some point, isn't it just I'm homesick and we don't need to know what it is?
Yeah.
That's my only point. Like I'm not saying COVID didn't exist, but it's like, okay, I'm out sick. Cool. All right. See you later.
Yeah. I mean, it's also Swag. Like he wants to make sure that everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah,
I respect it.
No, I have no problem with that. It's a bummer that he had to go to Hawaii and come home with COVID.
Yeah,
that's the thing. The Hawaii trip should be like, hey, I had a great time in Hawaii, and the basketball tournament was awesome, and this was all that. And it's
went to the Aloha Bowl. I kind of want to know,
we should be talking those stories. Well, right? You'll have to wait till the first of the year. Swag, Sprague, Dirt. All back after the first of the year, but it will be Mr. Ortner and I holding the fort down for the next couple of days. So we'll finish out today, tomorrow, Friday, and then Sinner and Saint as regular on Saturday. All getting you ready for the college football playoff, getting you ready for the Oregon Liberty Fiesta Bowl, which is going to be outstanding. Florida State, Georgia, that nobody's actually going to show up to and play in, that was of any consequence during the season. It's going to be amazing. College bowl season, catch the fever. I have caught the NFL final stretch fever. That is, it's actually probably my favorite time in sports because I don't think it gets any better. I love the playoff chase in baseball, but it happens over weeks. And it happens every day. Things are changing and all of that. But like the hype going into the NFL weekend this time of year to me is fantastic.
Right.
College football takes a little bit of a back seat to the NFL when you get into bowl season because these 46 or 48 or 4,000 bowl games that they play.
50. One for each state.
Are of no consequence. Well, the Bahamas has one, so I know it's not one for each state. They should play one in Alaska in December.
That'd be great. At the top, in like Nome, Alaska.
Yeah, up in the Fairbanks Bowl and the Denali Bowl and just play it in the middle of the national park.
That'd be awesome.
Just find a natural amphitheater that has frozen cliffs on either side, and you can put down a heated field in the middle so everybody doesn't, chip when they hit the ground.
Hey, as a known consumer of Alaska Anchorage Seawolves volleyball games, they've got some good facilities out there.
Yeah, but we don't want an Anchorage. We want it in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. The Seaplane Bowl, where you can only get there by seaplane.
What's that high school team that literally plays at the very tippy top of Alaska? They have like a blue field and yellow.
Barrow.
Like 6-man football because they only have 12 kids that go to the
Barrow
school.
Point is the more northernmost point, I believe. But that would not surprise me if they had 6-man football up there. But yes, please, let's get some of that going. We were talking about getting a Sinner and Saint Bowl game going, but I think this will be better. We'll have it played in Alaska. And you can play it in Juneau. It's fairly temperate there. You can do that, but I don't think that'd be as good as Fairbanks.
Yeah, the Barrow Whalers.
Yeah, Barrow.
Sorry, they're literally on the ocean.
Yeah, they're on the Arctic Ocean.
You throw the ball too far to one sideline,
it goes in the ocean.
It's in the ocean.
That's fantastic. The nice thing is, I think this time of year, it's starting to freeze over up there. And this is, what time of year it is up there? How much daylight they're getting right now?
Oh, none. No, wait. Is this all or none?
This is none. This is winter. This is deep winter. So there is zero daylight. up there right now because we go in June. So the summer solstice, June 21st, 21st ish.
Okay.
That is your all summer. And we've been going the last few years up to like Cooper's Landing or out of Anchorage, go down south on the Kenai Peninsula. And it gets dusky overnight because the sun actually dips below the horizon a little bit. But you go to the northern point of Alaska, you watch the sun go and like get close to the horizon and then just start back up again. At this point, you do not see the sun.
That's awesome.
Dude, we need
such a great bowl game.
That one would be worth watching.
Who would you send to it? Like what conferences would be so down in the dumps that they're like, yes,
Pac-12, the Pac-2,
Pac-2,
the Pac-2 would go and they would play against. Let's have them play against the Mountain West. Let's go. Come on, they're already playing against them 1,000 times though. I don't know.
You know what? Like a Sun Belt team?
I was gonna say send the Sun Belt since the name would be so contradictory.
Maction. They already do that.
Alaskan Maction.
Right. Yeah. That'd be fantastic. You could go send
Mac versus Sunbelt.
Ohio versus Wazoo up in Barrow, Alaska. Barrow.
Yeah, Barrow Point. Let's go. I'm all in on that. You said you have watched a bowl game or no?
I've watched multiple.
Okay.
Dude, I got nothing else to do.
All right.
It's like I'm gonna watch a little bit of
What's the best bowl game you've seen so far in bowl season?
Well, I'll tell you what, the Boise State Bowl. Whoever was playing yesterday, where there was 1,000 flags, that was a pretty good one.
Because of the flags, or was it a good game?
He set a record. There was 1,000 flags in the game. It was just funny.
Okay.
Bowl games are funny.
They're ridiculous. That's what I would say. But maybe that's just me. All right. We move away from bowl games. We move into the NFL. What was, what will be. We do that next. You're listening to Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. Dude, yes.
Epic.
Come on, man. I put Barrow, Alaska sunrise, sunset. It says the sun will rise at 1:09 p.m.
Yes.
January 23rd.
That's the next time that's awesome.
That's what it pulled up. It said sunrise 1:09, sunset 2:10 p.m. So it rises 1:09 p.m., sets at 2:10 p.m. on January 23rd.
Can you imagine going that long without seeing the sun? Just like, well, this is the rest of my life.
I'm putting in December, and it's literally not even pulling up. Yeah. So okay. This is insane. Just looking at the time, like it just says down all day. So starting in the entire month of December, it is down all day. So the sun sets at 1:48 p.m. on the 18th of November, and then it rises again, not in December. Where did it go? What did I just do? I had it. Come on. Show me January. I don't know what's going on. There it is. So it's down the entire month, and then on the 23rd, it rises again at 1:09 p.m. So the next sunrise.
That's crazy.
So November 18th until January 23rd, the sun will not appear in Barrow, Alaska. Can we get this bowl game going? Dude.
You could call it the Night Bowl.
It's just whatever you want, man. I don't care. Like, find a sponsor to get behind that game. If you're listening to this program, please make that a thing. I want that to happen. All right, 2 huge wins this weekend in the NFL, in the AFC. And the 2 teams at the top are the ones that won those games. Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins, both win. The Ravens go to 12-3. The Miami Dolphins beat the Cowboys. They go to 11-4. Do you know who plays this coming weekend?
Like the big games?
Dolphins, Ravens.
Baltimore. This is such a great spot for Baltimore to let down, except for Miami. They might be kind of frauds.
Do you think so? You're on that too. Well, they beat the Cowboys, so I don't know that. Yeah, I know.
Are the Cowboys
I know. But here's what we have. So those are 2 very big wins this last weekend. No matter how you slice it, if the Cowboys are in fact bad, they are a playoff team. We know that. The beating the 49ers for the Ravens is a huge win, but it sets up that matchup. I mean, what a way to go. Like, coming off of a loss, going into that game for Baltimore and going in with the same record would have been immaculate anyways. But then both going in with wins, playing for the 1 seed. This is why the NFL switching to the 1 bye is so awesome. Because if they had 2 byes, there's not another team within 2 games of either of these opponents, right? Like, so they wouldn't really have to give it everything they have. But if you're playing for a bye week, that is gold in the NFL.
Yeah, it matters. It actually makes those games, like back in the day when it was Patriots Colts.
Yeah,
neither team really cared.
Yeah, we'll see in a couple weeks.
See you. Yeah.
We'll see in early February.
See you at the end of January.
Yep. That's all that really mattered. On the other side of the coin, the 2 biggest losses I thought for the weekend: the Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. What is going on with those 2 teams? I kind of had penciled in that, hey, don't worry about Kansas City. They're going to be just fine. Patrick Mahomes, still Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid, still Andy Reid. Now, if they get into the tournament, I'm sure that they can do some damage. But you've got them kind of going the wrong direction. Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Peterson is the stabilizing coach. Trevor Lawrence is ascending. They lose. They're down at 8-7. They don't really have a guaranteed spot in the playoffs yet because Indianapolis and Houston both 8-7 as well. So they gotta kind of play this out down the stretch and see what happens. But they lose another game and they could very easily be on the outside looking in.
They might not have Trevor Lawrence either in some of these games. Like, his AC joint is sprained. That is a painful injury to try and overcome in your shoulder.
Yep.
Try and come through that. That's brutal. And then with the Chiefs, I think Patrick Mahomes is still the same Patrick Mahomes. I think Andy Reid is the same Patrick.
He's the same Patrick Mahomes?
They're both Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
Well, Mahomes and Maato.
Yeah.
But I think what you're seeing is Travis Kelce, for the first time, is regressing because what people forget, he's 34.
Yeah.
You know who's the same age as Travis Kelce? Rob Gronkowski. They are the same age.
Yeah, that is not an easy position to stay healthy.
No,
yeah.
and Travis has done it better than most, but you're starting to kind of see some wear and tear on him, and so he's not able to do as much. Because remember, not only was he the best tight end in football, you could make an argument as far as pass catchers go. Yeah. He was 2, maybe 3 most important, right? Like he was a big deal. And when he takes that step back because of age, he's still a really darn good football player, probably still a Pro Bowler. But
he's definitely a Pro Bowler. But yeah.
You would expect all pro, maybe even all pro, right? But you would expect the wide receivers to start picking him up, and that is where they have missed. Tony is horrible.
I know. Well, I don't know what they see that keeps him out there. Where
he's an athletic freak.
I get that.
He is so fast.
Yeah, but if you can't do the other part of your job, where you catch the ball or run the routes,
right?
Or he has had. I mean, and maybe just because they're highlighted again and again, but it feels like he has had more detrimental plays than he has had game-changing plays.
Right, but the fast, athletic wide receiver is the new tall, strong-armed quarterback. Like, remember for like a 5-year period, NFL coaches were like, he's big, he's tall, he's strong, he can throw the ball. I can make him a good passer. I know that in college, Christian Hackenberg was horrible and couldn't make, the check down throws, but he could make the deep throw. I can make him a good QB.
But even Josh Allen is one of those guys that played at Wyoming where they went, this guy could really be, and he is. He is something. But the infatuation with speed at the wide receiver position has always existed. I mean, you look at the Raiders draft picks forever.
Darius Hayward-Bay,
Rocket Ishmael, just going out and going way back.
Tavon Austin, and I know he wasn't Raiders, but
going out and getting these speedsters and athletic freaks has always been a desire of offensive coordinators at the wide receiver position. It hasn't always worked out,
right?
But but I do see your point. But at some point, do you expect the Chiefs to right the ship this season?
No.
Okay.
I don't think you can this season unless all of a sudden Tony figures it out or Sky Moore figures it out or MVS figures it out. But they've shown over their careers that they cannot figure it out. Yeah. Now, if we're talking long-term as the Chiefs, I'm not worried at all. Because what position in every draft class is loaded with talent?
That's the wide receiver
position. I mean, Puka Nacua was a 5th round, just like, let's see what this kid can do. Maybe he can return some punts for us. And now he's one of the top wide receivers in the league. People were talking about him as a potential rookie of the year candidate.
Right? I don't see why not. I mean, he's been outstanding.
A.J. Brown was a 2nd round guy. DK Metcalf was like the last pick in the 2nd round. You go down the list, there are a ton of talented wide receivers, and you don't have to get them in the 1st round. And this draft class is no different. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Sr., Troy Franklin's going to be in there. Marvin
Harrison Sr.'s coming back? How about that?
Junior.
Wow. That'll be a comeback for the ages.
Right. Romo Dunze is going to be in there. I would assume McMillan's going to be in there as well. Yeah. And that's just going down guys on the top of my head. So
explain this to me. You've got the Chiefs floundering. You've got the Jaguars floundering. Behind that, the Bills.
They scare me.
Don't believe in them yet?
No, I mean
they scare you as an opponent.
Scared.
Okay,
I'd be scared to play them. I feel like they have seemed to have righted the ship. They seem to have figured out. Like usually, if you fire your OC, in the middle of the year, it's a desperation move. Joe Brady seems to have gotten that ship back where it needs to be. It's back afloat.
Okay, and then behind them, you've got 8-7. Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals. They're obviously not all making the playoffs, but none of those teams scare me in the least. I don't know about you.
They're all, to me, the Steelers are the least that scare me. The other three,
the Bengals don't.
The Bengals,
if they had Joe Burrow, yes, but
they beat Jacksonville.
I understand, but everybody's beating Jacksonville right now.
That's also. Yeah. I'm just saying they're frisky, especially Indy. Like Indy went into Baltimore and beat Baltimore.
Yep.
Like that's one of those
funny things can happen in football. There's no question. But
Steichen has been fantastic. He might win Coach of the Year.
Okay,
for his performance this year.
So in that, then you still don't believe in the Miami Dolphins? You're still calling them a pretender. In that group, you've got the 11-4 Miami Dolphins. Chiefs go in the wrong direction. Jaguars go in the wrong direction. The Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco. Yes, I trust the Bills. I tend to believe they're going the right directions. Colts, Texans, Steelers, Bengals. You still put Miami as a pretender in there.
Well, so let's just go down. Let's do the Francesca and go down their schedule.
Okay.
Chargers, Patriots, Broncos, lost to Buffalo.
Okay.
Giants win, Panthers win, lost to Philly.
Yeah.
Beat the Patriots, lost to the Chiefs, beat the Raiders, beat the Jets, beat the Commanders, beat the Titans by a point, beat the Jets again, beat the Cowboys by 2. In that, you've beat what? One team with over 500?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. You're still going to have to play Baltimore and Buffalo. I think if you win either one of those games, then I start to believe in you more. But it's kind of the same thing, and it's weird, but it's the last 2 weeks for me with Baltimore because I kind of believe Baltimore was a little bit of a pretender because for so long we have seen Kansas City right the ship and get it done. And so I just assumed, like I think many people would have and did, that well, they'll just right the ship and they'll figure it out. They'll get there. They'll get the job done when they need to get the job done. Well, they haven't, and Baltimore has played big-time games on the road and at home, and every single time they've passed with flying colors, I feel like. Even their losses, you go, oh, well, good teams have that type of loss every once in a while. Other than maybe the Colts loss, they all kind of fit the mold of like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then to go into San Francisco being a 6-point dog, right, in Vegas, and to literally beat their ass and beat their ass at their own game. That makes me think they're for real.
Well, the turnover battle in that game, I mean, the 4 interceptions were not, he was confused or whatever. Your arm gets bumped. You have to tip passes.
There were two that were
those things.
Weird.
Well, yeah. But I mean, they happen. But the ball bounces in mysterious ways. I think you play that game 10 times. I think it's probably 5-5. I don't think that it looked like, that Baltimore was the unstoppable force, that the score might have indicated. But if you just go back and just look at the way that Miami has won games, it feels like they do it with offense first, and they don't get enough credit for what they've been able to do. And I'm not saying that they're the Super Bowl favorite, but I don't want to play Miami very bad, especially if they get a home game. And I know they're playing in Baltimore this weekend, but man, they get a win this weekend. Yeah. They've now got the one seed locked up. Now, I believe if you look at the final week of the season, they are playing the Bills as well.
Yeah, they go Baltimore, Buffalo.
You'll know what is going on with the Miami Dolphins very quickly. But if they can do it and hold on to the home field advantage, it would be pretty insane. But it's also must-watch television, at least in my mind. Going through and going, all right, here are all their wins. They're only beating the bad teams. There's a lot of teams that don't win all their games against bad teams. So you have to give them some credit for that. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing, especially in the NFL, where, I mean, there are some really bad teams out there, but there's going to be playoff teams. The Houston Texans are potentially a playoff team. They lost to the Panthers.
Yeah,
things happen.
That's fair.
So to get through an NFL season with 3 losses to this point, pretty incredible. So I give them credit for that over what it is. I do want to look at the NFC because there are some interesting things going on there. The Eagles have finished their losing streak for now. The Cowboys still don't know what to make of them. Who's in, who's out? I'm curious with that. So we'll do that after this SportsCenter update.
This is
NFL week that was and what will be based on what we learned. Will is smarter than I am, better looking than I am, taller than I am. And so everything he says is probably pretty accurate. But
you have better hair than I do.
Yeah, maybe. I have more hair than you do. I don't know if it's better. Right now, it's getting pretty shaggy.
It's better than what I got.
I've gone the entire year of 2023 without a haircut.
If you have hair and you don't have like a massive bald spot, I assume you have better hair than me.
Okay.
Now, if you have to do the comb over,
it's a little thin.
I win.
It's a little thin, but I don't have to comb it over. I made it the full year without a haircut. I have one scheduled for the 2nd.
Ooh.
No idea what I'm going to do with it, but we will get a new year, new haircut. Get a perm?
Yeah.
Oh, guess I'll get a perm. I guess I will get a perm.
Everyone's getting a mullet. You could do that too.
I know. I keep seeing mullets, and it's like they're almost intentionally bad. Like that's a thing with the youth right now. I don't get it.
A lot of the hots love the mullets.
They do they?
Yeah, they do.
I think a better way to phrase that is a lot of the hots are dumb. Is that fair?
I will never say that to the hots.
No?
I provide a shoulder for them to cry on.
You've talked to them before, yeah?
On occasion.
Some of them are real dumb.
Usually with some liquid courage.
Sure. The ones hanging out with the guy with the really bad mullet, would you put them in the astrophysicist or the you didn't bother reading because you were pretty, did you?
I put them in the equestrian category.
Oh, equestrian.
Or the agriculture branch of your local high school.
There you go. All right, whatever it is. I think a lot of them also just like what Dad hates too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, look, there's a type that likes the mullet.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
All right. So you're going to grow in the skillet?
No.
Okay.
No. I'll stay bald, and they'll come back around.
All right. Right now, if the playoffs were to start, the San Francisco 49ers still your number one overall seed, but they do have a tied record with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions to squash your fun little game of who they beat. I always like the who they lose to, and the Detroit Lions are only a few weeks removed from a loss to the Bears. But they dispatched the Vikings over the weekend, and they put themselves near the top of the NFC. Which of those three teams do you believe in most? Reminding you that the 49ers coming off their biggest loss of the season, the Eagles snapping a 4-game losing streak with a win over the weekend. If you had to pick one of those teams, I can even give you the Dallas Cowboys, who have clinched a playoff spot at 10-5. If you had to pick somebody right now, is it still the 49ers?
Yeah, it's San Fran. I mean, I now think that the best team in the NFL, it's the Ravens.
Yeah.
But I would say that San Fran is very clearly 2. I mean, when they are humming, there's no team in the league that's better, or at least they're better than every team other than, say, Baltimore. And you talked about it last segment as well. Like, Brock Purdy threw for 4 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
The very first interception that he threw to Hamilton, that was on him. He didn't see it. He threw it right to where Hamilton was able to step in front.
Yep.
The next interception hit off one of his guys' hands and went right into the DB's hands. Another play, Hamilton's second interception. He was blitzing. The ball gets batted at the line, and he's able to run back and go get it. And then the very last interception, his arm gets hit.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where if their offensive line, which got banged up in that game, did better and had been able to stay healthy, how many interceptions does Purdy have? I could say that really he only had one legitimate one.
Well, no, but here's the other thing, though, too. The timing it out and trying to beat the pass rush by throwing the ball is a decision the quarterback makes,
100%.
but is also shows the flaw in that offensive line. Besides Trent Williams, how good is that offensive line?
Well, Trent Williams was hurt too.
Well, I know, but it shows the flaws when he's out of there. He covers up a lot of what they do, especially when you look at it, how well they run the ball to the left side versus the right side.
It's like 1.5 yards difference.
It's dramatic, and in some games even more so. But when you're able to kind of get the push behind a Hall of Fame left tackle and kind of go the direction, if he's hurt now, it doesn't always reason that he'll be better later.
Right.
He's not out for the season, and it's not the thing, but playing chipped up makes you more vulnerable to injury as you go. And the fact that they're still in the race for that number 1 overall spot means you need to put everything that you have out there on the field. They're going to play the Los Angeles Rams in the final week of the season, which makes things, basically means that you're going to be playing, because the record that the Lions and the record that the Eagles have, 99% chance that you're playing for something in that final game of the season. So you don't get a bye week at any point as the season goes on because your record is too close. And you have to play the division game, and the Rams are bringing everything they've got because they're playing for a playoff spot as well. Mm-hmm. So it just becomes more and more difficult. Now, this week you have the Commanders, so you get a chance to rest up. But if Trent Williams is hurt now, there's no automatic magic bullet that puts him healthy as the year progresses.
Well, it's groin injury too, and those are really difficult for O-linemen because of the way that you have to move. Because as O-linemen, you're moving laterally all the time, and when you have to push back in your kick to get where you need to be on a pass play, it's going to be your groin. You can directly link their 4 losses to him being hurt.
Yep.
And an O-lineman will never be the MVP. It will never happen. As biased as I am about O-line, it will never, ever happen.
But you can make a case.
But you can directly link this team's success and their failures to that man, which is incredible. That's because wild. He's 34, 30. He is old.
Yep.
He punched Richard Sherman in the face 12 years ago.
Wild.
Yeah, after a game. That was 12 years ago.
And then they were teammates after that.
Yeah.
And now Richard Sherman is in the booth.
Yes, and he wasn't a rookie. And he punched him in the face. And that dude's still going. That dude had cancer at one point.
Still going.
Still going.
Still going. All right, let's start the campaign for Trent Williams MVP.
No one will vote for him.
Who cares?
It's going to be Lamar.
Well, I think pretty obviously after that.
That might have been for the MVP.
I think it was.
Between him and Purdy.
Yep. I think you could certainly make that case. Well, or McCaffrey.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that was always going to hurt San Francisco is you have 2 MVP candidates on one team, so they'll split votes anyways.
Right.
So it may have been Lamar anyways. But this is also the interesting thing about Baltimore too is imagine if Lamar stays healthy the last couple of years, how you see how much better they are. And they've been pretty good without him.
Well, this is why.
But not having him back for the playoffs the last couple of years, you really don't know how good they are.
This is why he fought for this. They completely switched their offense. He's running the ball. I think it's on average, it's 2 or 3 less rushes a game.
Sure, which makes a big difference.
And it makes a gigantic difference. And you're also seeing him this year slide.
Yeah.
He gets on the ground. He doesn't try to run people over. It's the same thing that we joked about with Tyler Lockett all the way back in the first hour.
It's the other thing. You talk about that AC sprain that Lawrence has, and he's trying to run people over still.
Yes.
You got to stop doing that. Josh Allen is one of those guys where every time he hits him, I'm like, stop!
Yeah, and Josh Allen is big enough and he's freaky enough to where he'll be okay for a while.
Yeah, but then you Cam Newton your shoulders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, because Cam used to do the same thing, and now Cam can't throw a ball. I don't care what he says on his stupid podcast. He cannot play in the NFL anymore.
If he could throw a football, he'd be playing in the NFL.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you believe 49ers still the team at the top. As you look through, are there any other wild cards that you see that even make a run? And if there is that injury, if Trent Williams stays on the chipped up list, as it were, or ends up missing games in the playoffs, who's your number 2 in the NFC?
Dallas, and it's strictly can things fall their way?
Oh, well...
Right.
I guess it started with things falling their way, assuming an injury there. You don't believe in Detroit?
No, because Detroit's defense scares me.
Yeah.
Dallas, what worries me about Dallas is their home and road splits.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Dak has clearly been playing really well. We were talking about Dak as an MVP guy. Just because he's not going to be an MVP doesn't mean he's not having a good year. You're running the ball well. Defensively, you're able to turn teams over, and you're able to stop them when you need to. Detroit can't do that. If Trent Williams is hurt, you have Micah Parsons. He can get after the quarterback.
Very true.
All of a sudden, that kind of changes up what's going on there. When you look at Philly, you just beat the brakes off them and they're not getting healthier.
No, they're not.
Right.
Yep.
So when I look at it, to me, they seem like the next wild card, even though they're probably not really a true wild card.
Fair enough. We'll put a bow on the show. We'll do that next. You're listening to a Luke and Will edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. Will be available soon. Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com. You had a Luke and Will edition of Dirt and Sprague this morning. You'll have the same tomorrow and Friday. They will be back. Swag, Sprague, all back after the first of the year. So expect them on Tuesday the 2nd. Of course, we'll have Ducks game day all day on January 1st. What did we accomplish today, Mr. Ortner? How do you feel about today's show? We get anything done?
I feel like we got some stuff done. We figured out who sucks in the NBA.
We did.
Remind you.
We did, yeah. If you're a Blazers fan, be excited because you are not as bad as the Detroit Pistons, it's very important. I don't know if you saw this, though. Also, Scoot with a double-double, 10 points, 10 assists, plus 10 points, plus 10 assists. Second only rookie to do that this year, and he's the second time he's done that. Both off the bench. 10 plus points, 10 plus rebounds. So get on the Scoot train right now and sell all your stocks in the Detroit Pistons. Okay, what else do we accomplish today?
I think we figured out that the college football playoff system is stupid.
It is stupid. We're all glad it's going away. The 12 team won't be perfect, but it will be 1,000 times better.
It'll have its pros and cons.